"You're nothing. You'll never work in this industry again." My boss said it while security guards held my arms, escorting me past colleagues who wouldn't meet my eyes, past the desk I'd worked at for 3 years, past every dream I'd built in that building. He stood in his corner office doorway, smirking in his tailored suit, absolutely certain he'd destroyed me. 5 years later, when I walked back through those same glass doors as the new owner of everything he'd built, including his career, his office, and his future, I finally understood what real power looked like. And it looked like the terror on his face when he realized the woman he'd thrown away had come back to claim everything. Before I tell you what happened in that all-staff meeting, comment where you're watching from. And ask yourself, if someone tried to end your career, how far would you go to prove them wrong? My name is Natasha Reyes, I'm 34 years old, and I spent 5 years turning my worst day into someone else's reckoning. When I was 26, I was a rising product manager at Vertex Technologies, a mid-size software company in Austin, Texas. I'd worked there since graduating from UT Austin, climbing from junior analyst to product manager in 3 years, through pure determination and 70-hour weeks. I was good at my job, really good. The product I managed had grown from $3 million in revenue to $18 million under my leadership. I'd built relationships with key clients. I'd mentored junior employees. I'd done everything right. None of it mattered to Marcus Webb. Marcus was the VP of product, my boss's boss, and one of the most politically vicious people I've ever encountered. He took credit for other people's work. He sabotaged anyone he saw as a threat. He survived in the company not through competence, but through a combination of charm, manipulation, and strategic friendships with board members. I became his target when I made the mistake of being noticed. At a quarterly review, the CEO praised my product's performance directly, bypassing Marcus entirely. I saw something flash across his face that day, something cold and calculating. I should have been more careful after that. Instead, I kept doing my job, kept succeeding, kept getting noticed. 6 months later, Marcus called me into his office. "Close the door, Natasha." I did. 2 HR representatives were sitting on the couch. My stomach dropped. "We're terminating your employment, effective immediately." The words didn't make sense. What? Why? Inappropriate conduct. Falsifying expense reports. Insubordination. He rattled off the accusations like they were obvious facts. "None of that is true. We have documentation. This isn't a discussion." He nodded to one of the HR reps. "Security will escort you out. You have 15 minutes to collect personal items. I want to see this documentation. I want to defend myself. That's not how this works." They stood. Security entered. And just like that, 3 years of my life were erased. As they walked me past his office, Marcus stepped into the doorway. His smirk was almost performative, like he wanted witnesses to what came next. "You're nothing," he said, loud enough for the entire floor to hear. "You'll never work in this industry again. I'll personally make sure of it." I didn't respond. I couldn't. My throat had closed around words that wouldn't come. They took my badge. They walked me to my car. They watched me drive away. I spent 3 days in my apartment, blinds closed, phone off, trying to understand what had happened. The accusations were fabricated. I knew it, but proving it would cost money I didn't have, time I couldn't afford, and emotional energy I'd already depleted. Marcus had won. That was the reality I had to accept. But accepting defeat and staying defeated are two different things. I started over. I couldn't get hired at any company in Austin's tech scene. Marcus had done exactly what he promised, making calls, poisoning wells, ensuring that Natasha Reyes was unhireable. His network was deep and his grudges were permanent. So I went somewhere he couldn't reach. I moved to Phoenix, found a job at a small startup that didn't know Marcus Webb and didn't care about Austin politics, took a 40% pay cut, started from scratch. But I wasn't just surviving, I was learning. I watched how startups operated, how they raised funding, how they scaled, how they got acquired. I paid attention to every detail of the business side of technology that I'd never focused on before. Within a year, I was running product for the Phoenix startup. Within 2 years, I was COO. By year 3, I'd led the company through a successful acquisition by a larger firm, earning myself a significant equity payout. I took that money and made a decision that would define the next phase of my life. I became an investor. I joined a venture capital firm as a partner, leveraging my operational experience to evaluate tech companies. I was good at it. I could spot weaknesses in business models that others missed. I could identify which startups had real potential and which were smoke and mirrors. I made my partners a lot of money. I made myself even more. By year 4, I had enough capital and credibility to start my own investment fund. I called it Ascent Capital. We specialized in acquiring undervalued technology companies, restructuring them, and either growing them or flipping them for profit. That's when I started watching Vertex Technologies. Marcus Webb had become CEO 3 years after firing me. The previous CEO had retired, and Marcus had maneuvered his way into the corner office through the same political machinations that had always defined him. Under his leadership, Vertex was struggling. Revenue had flatlined. Key talent had left. Product innovation had stalled. The stock price had dropped 40% over 2 years. Board members were getting nervous. I watched. I waited. I planned. The hostile takeover took 6 months to execute. I started by quietly acquiring shares through shell companies, staying below the disclosure threshold that would alert anyone to what I was doing. I built relationships with institutional investors who held significant Vertex stock and were unhappy with the company's direction. When I finally had enough support, I made my move. Ascent Capital launched a public tender offer, offering shareholders a 30% premium over the current stock price. The board panicked. Marcus panicked. They tried to implement poison pill defenses, but the shareholders wanted out. The vote wasn't close. Within 60 days, Ascent Capital owned 51% of Vertex Technologies. I owned the company that had thrown me away. The all-staff meeting was scheduled for a Monday morning. I arrived early, walked through those same glass doors I'd been escorted out of 5 years earlier. The receptionist, a young woman who hadn't been there during my tenure, looked nervous. "Ma'am, the staff is assembled as requested. Thank you." The conference center was packed. Every employee, every manager, every executive. They'd been told the new ownership would be addressing them. They didn't know who I was. I walked to the front of the room and scanned the crowd. He was sitting in the front row. Marcus Webb, older now, grayer, but still wearing that same smug expression, probably thinking he could charm whoever this new owner was, probably already planning how to keep his position. Then he saw my face. The smugness dissolved. His skin went pale. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Good morning," I said to the room. "My name is Natasha Reyes. I'm the founder of Ascent Capital, and as of last Friday, I'm the majority owner and incoming CEO of Vertex Technologies." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some of the older employees remembered me. I could see recognition dawning on their faces. "Some of you know me. I worked here for 3 years before being terminated under false pretenses." I looked directly at Marcus. I was told I would never work in this industry again. I was told I was nothing. Marcus's hands gripped his armrests. I spent 5 years building something from nothing, learning, growing, becoming something nobody here thought I could be. I paused, and now I'm back. The room was silent. Let me be clear about my plans. Vertex has incredible talent and incredible potential. Under proper leadership, this company can thrive again. I intend to invest in product development, in our people, in our future. I stepped closer to the front row. However, leadership changes will be necessary. Effective immediately, Marcus Webb is terminated as CEO and removed from all positions within this company. Marcus shot to his feet. "You can't do this. I have a contract. Your contract has a performance clause. Revenue down 40%. Stock price down 40%. The board has already approved your termination. Security will escort you to collect your personal items." 2 security guards approached him, the same security team he'd used to humiliate me 5 years ago. "This is revenge," he hissed. "This is petty, vindictive. This is business." I interrupted calmly. "You ran this company into the ground. I'm fixing it. Your feelings about the situation are irrelevant." He sputtered, searching for words that would save him. "You're nothing," I said quietly, just for him to hear. "You'll never work in this industry again. Sound familiar?" His face crumpled. Security took his arms and walked him toward the door, past colleagues who wouldn't meet his eyes, past the desk where his assistant sat frozen, past every success he'd claimed and every person he'd stepped on. Exactly the same path he'd forced me to walk 5 years earlier. I turned back to the room. For everyone else, my message is simple. I know what it's like to be undervalued in this company. I know what it's like to work hard and get pushed aside. That culture ends today. I looked around at the faces watching me. If you're good at your job, you'll be recognized. If you're not, you'll be supported to improve. But politics, backstabbing, credit stealing, that era is over. We're building something real here, something that lasts. I paused. Welcome to the new Vertex. The restructuring took a year. I replaced most of the executive team with people I trusted. I promoted several junior employees who'd been overlooked under Marcus's regime. I invested heavily in the product lines that had been neglected. Within 18 months, revenue was up 35%. Stock price had doubled. The company that Marcus Webb had almost destroyed was thriving. He never worked in technology again. Last I heard, he's selling insurance in a suburb outside Dallas. His network dried up the moment he lost power. The people he'd cultivated for decades abandoned him instantly, the same way he'd abandoned everyone he considered beneath him. I don't think about him much anymore. The revenge was satisfying, I won't pretend otherwise, but it wasn't the point. The point was proving that the person he called nothing had been something all along.
that the career he tried to end was just beginning, that the power he used to destroy people could be taken away, and the people he destroyed could be the ones to take it. I gave a speech at a women's leadership conference last month. Afterward, a young woman approached me, tears in her eyes. "I just got fired," she said. "My boss said I'd never make it, that I should find another career." I recognized something in her face, the same devastation I'd felt in that parking lot 5 years ago. "Do you believe him?" I asked. "I don't know. Then let me tell you what I wish someone had told me." I took her hands. "The people who try to end you aren't predicting your future. They're revealing their own fear. They see something in you that threatens them. That's why they attack." She nodded slowly. "Use this. Let it fuel you. Build something they can't tear down. And one day when you're standing somewhere they never imagined you'd be, you'll understand. They did you a favor. They showed you exactly who you needed to stop being, and exactly who you were capable of becoming. If you're watching this and someone has tried to end you, fired you, dismissed you, told you you'd never amount to anything, I want you to know something. They don't get the final word. Build quietly, learn relentlessly, grow beyond their imagination, and when you walk back through the doors they once threw you out of, remember success isn't about revenge. It's about proving that the person they tried to erase was real all along. My boss said I was nothing. Now I own his desk. If this story hit home, share yours in the comments, and subscribe, because the next story might be exactly what you needed to hear.